The conflict between Russia and Ukraine is complex and has its roots in historical, geopolitical, and ethnic factors. Here's a concise overview. Historical context. Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union until its dissolution in 1991. After gaining independence, Ukraine developed closer ties with Western Europe, which Russia sees as encroaching on its sphere of influence. Crimea Annexation. In 2014, Russia annexed Crimea, a region of Ukraine. This move was widely condemned internationally, but Russia argued it was protecting ethnic Russians and Russian interests in the region. Eastern Ukraine conflict. Also in 2014, conflict erupted in eastern Ukraine between Ukrainian forces and separatist rebels backed by Russia. This conflict, centered around Donetsk and Luhansk regions, often referred to as the Donbas region, has resulted in thousands of deaths and displacement of civilians. Geopolitical tensions. The conflict is often viewed through the lens of broader geopolitical struggles between Russia and the West, particularly NATO and the EU. Ukraine seeks closer ties with these organizations, while Russia perceives this as a threat. International response. The international community, including the United States and European Union, has imposed sanctions on Russia for its actions in Ukraine. Efforts at diplomatic resolution have been ongoing, including the Minsk agreements aimed at a ceasefire and political settlement. Humanitarian impact. The conflict has had severe humanitarian consequences, with casualties on both sides, displacement of people, and economic disruption in Ukraine. Overall, the conflict in Ukraine reflects deeper tensions over national identity, geopolitical influence, and the post-Cold War order in Eastern Europe. Ukraine was historically part of the Russian Empire and later the Soviet Union until gaining independence in 1991. This historical connection still influences cultural, economic, and political ties between Russia and Ukraine. The dissolution of the Soviet Union left many ethnic Russians outside Russia's borders, particularly in Crimea and eastern Ukraine, which has been a point of contention. Crimea Annexation. In 2014, following Ukraine's Euromaidan protests and the ousting of pro-Russian President Viktor Yanukovych, Russia seized control of Crimea. This move was condemned by Ukraine and most of the international community. Russia justified the annexation as protecting ethnic Russians and securing its naval base in Sevastopol, Crimea's largest city. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine is complex and has its